Hi guys, it's so good to be back. I missed you all so much. Before we get into today's topic, I thought I'd just sit here and talk to you about what's been going on in my life recently. I, as you all know, struggle with depression. And I finally feel like I'm in a place where that's getting significantly better. And if you don't mind, I'd like to share that with you. If you don't want to watch this part of the video, I will link when the Anthropology discussion starts in the description. So, first of all, big update. New microphone. This is the Blue Yeti. I took it off of its stand because the way that my room is set up, it's better for me to hold the microphone during videos than it is for me to have it on its stand. So I hope you guys don't mind that, and I hope it's not too distracting. So, some big things happened here at home. The first one being that my home state, Utah, just legalized cannabis for medical use. And other than depression, I have been diagnosed with some conditions that I'm not going to go into detail with right now, but that'll benefit me, or that will benefit from medical cannabis use. But we're going to talk about my depression. So, as many of you know, you can basically get CBD oil anywhere in the United States now, which is the non-psychoactive chemical from cannabis. CBD stands for cannabidiol. And cannabidiol gives you the medical benefits without getting high, which I really like. I like being able to function. I like, not feeling high 24/7 basically. And it has been the only thing that has significantly helped with my anxiety and depression. So I have a little vial of it right here. This is just from a store in Salt Lake City that specializes in CBD. Anyone can walk in and buy it, I think, if you're over the age of 18. Or it might be over the age of 21. My boyfriend and I went into the store and he's 20. And they didn't ID him or anything, so I think it's 18. So this is 112 milligrams of CBD suspended in water. So every morning when I get up, I take this, I put 2 drops of it under my tongue, and my anxiety is gone. It's like a miracle, honestly. Like, none of the pharmaceuticals that I've ever used for my anxiety and depression have ever worked as well as this. So I'm really thankful for it. Other than that, I started a full-time job, which is why I disappeared for a little while. October is when I went on my anniversary trip. And it was a lot of fun. Not all of it. We got seasick for a day Mesopotamia. But there's also China, the Indus Valley civilization, which corresponds to the modern Rajasthan, Gujarat, and Punjab regions of India and Pakistan. Of course, ancient Egypt, ancient China along the banks of the Yellow and Yangtze rivers, and Mesoamerica, which is the only cradle of civilization not to be centered around major rivers. Mesoamerica and Central America include the civilizations of the Toltec, Aztec, Maya, as well as parts of South America, like the Inca Empire. So in all of these regions, agriculture was, I'm not going to use the word invented, but it independently appeared in the archaeological record at various times in history in all of these different places. It's really interesting to note that all of these civilizations developed agriculture without knowledge of each other. Granted, ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, and the Indus Valley were most likely connected in trading later in history, but all of these regions independently discovered agricultural techniques without knowing of each other. They would only come into contact with each other later in the historical record. So let's give an example of a society and how it begins. Let's say that you belong to a group of Neolithic hunter-gatherers. Neolithic being the term for the Stone Age, the scientific term for the Stone Age. And there are several steps to get to a more complex society. Let's say you come across a fertile river valley like the Nile Delta or the confluence of the Tigris and Euphrates. And there's an abundance of wild grain. Depending on where you are in the world, this could be rice, it could be wheat, it could be barley, it could be millet, it could be, like in the Americas, corn. So, you find these plants growing on the riverbank, and your group sets up camp to harvest these. And maybe you continue your nomadic way of life for a little bit longer. Maybe you come back to this river valley on an annual basis, and you go there specifically to harvest these wild grains, to gather them. And as the years go by, you start to notice that they're changing. Every time you come back to this area, the grains are a little bit larger. The yield is a little bit higher. And you begin to think, what if we're having some sort of effect on these plants? And so you decide to take the seeds from the best yielding, most productive of these grains, and you decide to plant them. And this is the beginning of humans intervening in natural selection, selecting crops that are of the most benefit to us, not necessarily well suited to their natural environment like their wild ancestors would have been. So you decide, hey, we can still go hunting, but what if we stay here these crops grow. So you set up a camp, and it soon begins to flourish into a larger village. Now that you don't have to go out and search for food, and now that you start to build up grain stores, people in your group that used to all go out and hunt or gather, they now have a lot more free time on their hands. And with this free time comes an explosion of things like pottery and more intricately weaved clothing and more intricate jewelry. And then, as time goes by, your housing will become more permanent. You stop building your tents out of animal skin and wooden planks, and you start to build them out of wood and earth, and then you start to build them out of mud brick, and then you have a more permanent settlement. As the generations go on, people become more specialized in their jobs, because we're not all going out to hunt and gather for the group now. Some of us are in the fields harvesting. Some of us are at home raising children. And very quickly, society begins to stratify into what we know it today. Soon you get the emergence of a royal family, of a leadership class, and you get the emergence of a priestly class, whose job, at least spiritually, is to keep the gods happy and to keep the forces of nature on your side. The river that you're living next to may flood predictably, helping you plant and irrigate crops more efficiently, but sometimes, like in Egypt, that river might burst its banks. It might be a little too much water. So it's the job of the priest to keep the gods of the water, of the land, of the crops happy, so that there's this balance between how the river floods and irrigates crops and how it interferes with your day-to-day life through things like excessive flooding. So, as you can see, there is very strong evidence to show that once these societies settled down and once they began to plant crops and specialize in their jobs, society became a lot more unequal than it was in the days of hunting and gathering. Even today, there are still hunter-gatherer societies, there are still nomadic societies on this planet, and by observing them we can tell that they're on whole, like as a whole, they're mostly more egalitarian than our modern society. And that's due to the fact that everyone has to put in energy to gather resources for the group, for its continued survival. Whereas if you're settled down, you have more time to specialize in your job, you have more time to specialize what you do for a living, essentially. So, I hope that you've found this video interesting